Snow fell steadily as we made our way across the compound to attend midnight mass. Shafts of light from the guard towers' rotating searchlights illuminated every inch of our prison camp. The joyful sound of church carillons welcoming the faithful to midnight mass were replaced here by the booming of Russian guns now perilously close to our camp. It was apparent that we all, silently remembering past Christmases, were experiencing varying degrees of nostalgia. Guards maintained a low profile, and the dog handlers, while keeping Dobermans and German Shepherds on a short leash, remained at a respectable distance. Ours was a motley group of Air Force officers from Canada, Great Britain, Ireland, South Africa, Australia, and New Zealand. A sad-looking assembly at this juncture, but nonetheless intent on upholding the solemnity of this occasion, commemorating the Nativity, the birth of Jesus Christ. The theater cum chapel was cold and dimly lit. Wooden seats had been fabricated over a period of time by prisoners using packing cases salvaged from Red Cross shipments. An altar was arranged at center stage. To the right of the altar, near the stage exit, stood a piano. The size of the congregation exceeded all expectations. Every seat was occupied. Obviously, there were many last-minute converts. Seated prominently near the front of the auditorium were two avowed skeptics whose presence lent credence to the old saying, "There are no atheists in foxholes." 4 seats in the front row were occupied by German officers resplendent in their Luftwaffe uniforms. Another 4 men in the congregation were particularly motivated to attend Mass and offer special thanks to God, having had a recent and intimate encounter with death. These men were the last escapees to make their way out of the tunnel during an incident now known as the Great Escape, during which 70 men gained a temporary freedom. Only 3 ever made it back to England. The news of the murder of 50 of these escapees was known by all at the camp. The average age of this exceptionally courageous group of Air Force officers was 23. Their names were posted on the camp bulletin board the day of my arrival at Stalag Luft 3. At precisely 12 midnight, the celebrant, making the sign of the cross, began the Mass. It was apparent that the 2 altar boys, both fighter pilots, needed little coaching in the performance of their duties. Probably less than 5 years ago, they'd been serving Mass in their parish churches. Our frail priest gave a brief sermon, the principal theme being peace and the necessity of praying more fervently for peace. Each time he mentioned the word peace, the muffled sounds of Russian artillery seemed to be more pronounced. The sermon ended with the plea, "Love God and love your neighbor." While we received communion, a young navigator with a magnificent tenor voice sang the Ave Maria and Panis Angelicus. He was accompanied by a gifted pianist whose wartime occupation was bomber pilot. The celebrant invited everyone to receive Holy Communion. Small pieces of black bread substituted for the traditional wafer, and each communicant took the consecrated host from a basket. The words "Ite missa est," the Mass is ended, seemed to provoke a bittersweet reaction. A recessional hymn, Silent Night, was sung with gusto by everyone in the auditorium. The voices of the German officers were distinctly audible above those of all the other singers. Silent Night, Stille Nacht, was their song, having been composed by their countryman Franz Gruber 126 years earlier. We walked back to our huts in silence so as to prolong the ecstasy of this extraordinary midnight Mass. That was written by Desmond Montague in 1996.